A Twitter thread. Trans rights are human rights. This slogan is repeated often. What does it mean? Here follows a short lesson in international human rights law. There are currently 9 or 10, if we include the 1951 Genocide Convention, international human rights treaties. They fall into 3 main conceptual categories. Type 1, treaties that protect human rights applicable to all. Type 2, treaties that protect against human rights violations applicable to all or only to certain groups. Type 3, treaties that protect human rights of only certain groups, including against targeted violations. Type 1 treaties are 1966 Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, 1966 Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. All humans, including of course transgender people, are covered by these treaties. Type 2 treaties are 1951 Genocide Convention, 1984 Convention Against Torture, 2006 International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance. Of these, the first treaty protects group rights, not individual rights. In fact, Article 1 of the Genocide Convention clarifies that, in the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. Type 3 treaties are 1965 International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, 1979 Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1990 International Convention on the Protection of the Rights of All Migrant Workers and Members of their Families, 2006 Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Just like the Genocide Convention, these treaties protect not all humans, but only those belonging to the protected categories based on race, sex, age, migrant status, disability status. So where do trans rights belong? Not in Type 3, unless one argues that gender dysphoria is a disability. Not in Type 2, for obvious reasons. In Type 1, certainly, to extent that gender expression is a form of freedom of expression. Belief in gender ID a form of freedom of belief. Right to privacy covers one's own transgender status. But as Type 1 treaties are universal anyway, there's no need to single out groups. What trans rights are not is sex-based rights. So a male cannot demand rights under the 1979 Convention, just like he cannot demand disability rights if not disabled, children's rights if not a minor, migrant rights if not a migrant, etc. So what does trans rights are human rights mean? Not much, at least not in the current framework of the international human rights law. The end.